Welcome to another glorious edition of That Dude Podcast with me, Tom Byron, That Dude. And That Dude Podcast, as always, is sponsored by Green Genie, greengenieny.com. They got gummies, they got cooking oil, they got everything for your cannabis needs. That's greengenieny.com. Now, my only guest today is someone who got in the business during really the glory days for talent, early 2000s, early part of the millennium. Started off as a contract performer for Adam and Eve, and won a bunch of awards, and was a pretty all right guy in the biz. But his story after the biz is actually very, very fascinating. So I'm going to bring him on right now. His name's DaBone. How you doing, Dale?
What's going on, man?
All right, we can hear each other. We had some
I can hear
audio
you.
problems in the setup, but we're good now. So, Dale, how you doing?
Well, I was trying to pick a spot in the house to kind of have, kind of cool, but I put it right beside the sunroom, like, so I got the sun blaring on me, so I'm like sweating. So if they're going to look at me and go, "Oh my God, what the hell is he on?" But no, it's just because the sun in this room is just like blazing right now.
You know what? It is unseasonably warm up here in New York. Like today, I mean, it's like a summer day. It's like 75 degrees out.
Yeah,
very, very weird.
It's already almost 90 here. So I went for a ride on the motorcycle because I ride every day. I still, even though I don't do stunts the way I used to, I still get on the bike and, I try to at least ride, at least once or twice a day.
Yeah, you keep active. You're a very busy guy. I follow you on Facebook, and that's how I know about all your, things that have gone on. So let's start at the beginning. You got in the business what year?
99. Officially, 98. I did some crap. I think it was called. It was actually the story. There's a story out there. I don't know if you know, but it was Southern Blowjob Bells, right? And it was this. In this brand new, amateur director out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and he actually came into the strip club to see my girlfriend at the time, Carla, to see her, and it was all supposed to be about her, right?
Right.
And she asked me, and because I had never I never aspired to do porn. I was in a band. I wanted to be a rock star. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to play baseball. All these different things, right? And she was like, porn? Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I didn't care, right?
Right.
So, long story short, the guy that was supposed to work with her, didn't show up.
Right.
So she called me. Can you come just do this scene? I'm like, sure. So, and then it was supposed to be Adam and Eve was supposed to be pushing her. The guy that was directing was going to fish. He was fishing this, and he was going to try to sell it to Adam and Eve and everything. And so they went and looked at it, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, we're really interested." And he was licking his chops, and he goes, "Yeah, she's a vet." And he goes, "No, not her. Who's that guy?" And then he was like, "What? Yeah, who's that guy? We're interested in him." And so that's kind of how it happened. And then,
for those who don't know, Adam and Eve is located in North Carolina.
Hillsboro. It's just 5 minutes east of Greensboro, where I'm from.
Yeah. So you were basically like Lana Turner on the ice cream stool at Schwab's. You were just discovered.
Yeah.
By happenstance.
I never aspired to. And here's the funny thing, right? I didn't think about what I was getting into, right? I think, nobody's going to see this. Only because, back then, remember, everybody knows this. All the guys know this, so don't act like you don't. Every guy used to go into the VHS store, try to park in the back, try to go in real fast, pick up a porno, and then, ease in and ease out. Nobody sees. Only a certain crowd was. And I thought the same thing, nobody's going to see this. Nobody's going to know who I am. I'll do it once.
Yeah.
No, it's
it's forever. It's forever, baby.
Yeah, and that's what I keep telling that's what we could go on forever of talking about that, people don't understand,
Oh, it's definitely a life choice. I mean, that's,
Yeah, and that's, the book I'm writing. It's called Life Sentence, because that's what it is. It's a life sentence. You may think you can leave. You may think that you go on, and hey, here I am as a car salesman, or here I got a job at whatever. It follows you.
See, I never, I didn't get in business by happenstance. I planned on it since I'm 16 years old. Because I grew up in the 70s. When all that porno chic era was going on, with Deep Throat and all that.
Yeah.
So I was all in. I drove from Texas to California specifically to be in the porn business. So I was more, I don't know, prepared or whatever, but I planned on making it my life. So,
It's funny. I have a story. I don't mean to cut you.
No,
go for it. The story.
No, this is about you. It's,
Well, no, this involves you, and I told the same story to Herschel Savage, and obviously, my very first movie was with Nina Hartley, Hardbound, and I was on the cover with her. It was her and I posing together, which was unheard of at the time. There was no males on the cover, of anything. And so I was instantly hated before I even got to LA, because we shot this, and I didn't even know, but long story short, I was on set. There was Nina, and the very first porn I ever watched in my life, the first time I ever snuck that CD, the VHS tape in, and happened to be her. She was doing a scene with Herschel Savage. And so that was, and then you were in the movie, and I remember something. I remember one of the lines when you're like, I don't want this. The girl was like, I don't want this to be a quickie, and you're like, no, this is going to be a longie. And I'm like, what the fuck's a longie? But it was young Tom Byron. That was the first. Those were the first three. Then you see the rest. Peter North. Then you see Buck Adams, and you see all these Amberlin, all these people that became. I was just like, and in my very first movie, I was telling Nina this, and I was telling Herschel, hey, do you remember that one scene you did with the blonde with the big tits? And he was going, yeah, I remember that scene. Of course I do. But being excited, and you were one of them. You were one of the people in that movie, and so that's kind of it.
Yeah, it was.
Story all the time.
It was a tight knit crew back then,
yes,
because we didn't have the blue pills and the injections or whatever. It was you could either do it, or you didn't.
When I first got in, I didn't know what the hell Viagra was. I remember I don't know if it was who I was on I was already kind of established, right? I already kind of did my thing, and I think when Jules Denial was first kind of getting her big heyday. I remember she was doing her thing, and one of the guys came in, and everybody thinks they can do it. Everybody thinks, hey, they brag about, hey, I'm a stripper, and I'm a male dancer, and I used to fuck all these girls. Yeah, because there's no cameras. And I remember Jewel, this one guy came in. She was sitting there waiting, and he was like bragging. He was supposed to be the next big thing, and I don't remember the guy. But,
anyone that talks like that won't stick around.
So and so she's just like, and he was expecting to walk in, and she was going to walk up to him and start kissing him and making him, and she goes, drop your pants, get your dick hard. You got 30 seconds. And he was like, what?
Yep.
And she goes, okay, you're down to 15, get your dick hard. And he was bringing out wet socks. Okay, next. Kick him off set like it was nothing. Like
what? Wet
and that's
socks.
how it was. And she
wet
goes,
socks. I love that.
Scene? I'm like, yeah, get your dick hard. And I'm like, let's go.
No wet sock, huh? I love that term. I've never heard that one before. We used to call
out wet socks.
Me and Joey Silvera used to call them balsa boys.
Oh yeah,
like balsa wood.
Balsa wood, yeah.
It's like balsa boys. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so that's how it was. But it was, and it wasn't anything like I thought. I thought it was this one little camp. No, there was booms, there was production, there was all these people, there was grips, there was a microphone under my ass, there was a camera up here, there was this. I'm like, get hard. I'm like, okay. It's like I didn't even at the time, like I said, I didn't aspire to do this.
Right.
I was I can do it. So I had to do it.
Right.
So I had to and I was like, I am not gonna fucking fail, because I already had the Southern accent. So when I got there, everybody was like, oh, who the, because I was, Bud brought me on the set, and that was good. That he, you know, I was already, you know, he vouched, so I was already in, and I had an Adam contract, so I was already so. And I was like, if I fail in front of everybody, so I'm like, my heart's like, you know. But it, like I said, you either can do it or you can't. I've seen so many woodsmen fall to the wayside, and I've had to cover their scenes, and then 20 minutes later do my scene.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Because I think I shot you one time. I think it was Ashley Blue or something, and I could tell you came from the feature side of the business.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Because what I shot was just pure, just do what you want and I'll catch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So and I didn't know anything about that when I worked. That was when I was just now dipping my foot into the gonzo world. That's what they call it.
Yeah, I remember you kept asking me, okay, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do this, and can you see from here? And I was like, dude, don't worry, just relax, enjoy yourself. I'll catch it. Don't worry about it, you know.
And I never had anybody do that. I had to do things like you know the stuff when you're doing. I don't know if you can see me when you're doing doggy and stuff. Fun, right? And then they want you to open the hips and you're trying to, I mean, that's what I was used to. You know?
Yeah, I never. I mean, opening the hips. I never say that because I'm gonna get that angle. You know what I mean? As a, you know, that's why I always use like natural light type situations where I wasn't dealing with shadows or anything like that, because then it was easy for, you know, people to just relax, enjoy themselves, and I would just catch it. I would capture the action. But yeah,
I think I remember that because it took us like sometimes 5 and 6 hours to do a mainstream movie, a sex scene.
And mine's done in like an hour.
Used to that. There was times I was in between positions. It'd be 30 minutes. And then I have to go right back into it, kind of get myself built back up, and they're spraying me down because I was sweaty before. So and then go right back into it and action. I'm like, okay. So, but with you, I remember almost being done with the scene, and I was like, okay, what's next? And you're like, we're done. I'm like, what? I need the pop shot. I'm like, what? I mean, this was fun. That's all I have to do. I get paid for it. Okay.
Yeah. My shit was notoriously easy. I mean, that's kind of like why I use the same guys all the time. I use Mark Davis. I use Shawn Michaels a lot more in the early days because he would always show up late. But Mark Davis.
He was one of my mentors.
Lee Stone. Because he was buff.
Big, you know, huge cock, big guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He came in after me. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like Rob's cousin Mark, I used him a lot. Mark Zane, Mark Zakari, whatever he calls himself.
Yeah, I think it was Mark Zane. Yeah.
All right, like I told you before, this isn't like a bro fest talking about you know porn chicks we banged. You know, I like to more delve into like real life shit because that's what we're all in right now. We're all in real life. You know, the porn bubble has burst, and now we're, you know, like next week I'm starting a job, overnight job, stocking, so I can still do the, you know, podcast stuff during the day. You know what I mean? But that's, you know, real life, you know. When you got out of the business, what did you go? I know you do some bounty hunting or something like that.
Not bounty hunting. I'm an FTF agent, Fugitive Task Force. I went and got my D and my G license, and I went and got security training. I did tactical training. I met this guy. Now, this is after. Okay, I want to get into the story because that's kind of what I'm doing now. And I don't want to make it look like I jumped right out and I got this. No.
Right. Yeah.
For years, I went from designer clothes, VIP sections. I don't wait. Oh, hey, come on in. You know. Handing me bags of, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but let's just say little baggies of stuff that I didn't even ask for, but I shake my hand and there it is.
Yeah.
I didn't even ask for the drugs and just handed to you, all this stuff. I went from that, Corvettes, motorcycles, all this stuff, to borrowing money to eat McDonald's.
Oh, yeah.
Because the second I stopped and I wanted to move, you name the training I did. I did ocean rescue, lifeguard, I did sales training. I did all these different things to try to be a regular person and try to. I even went to nursing school. Spent the whole 2 years, right? And I love all the knowledge I got from it. I still use it to this day. And I made sure I was the only guy in the class. And of course, by the first day, everybody knew who I was. And the teacher pulled me off to the side, and she was like, "Look, I don't know why you're here, but I know if you're pulling a stunt, but if you better take this class serious." I said, "No, I'm not going to take this class serious. I'm going to have the highest GPA in the whole school." And she said, "Yeah, right." I said, "Watch me." And she ended up. There's actually stories I could tell you, but we'll leave them alone. But let's just say. Like I said, I kept a 4.1, and when I graduated with I had the highest GPA, and I had all the accolades. I did all the best stuff. I never scored less than a 98 on any test, test. And the other girls were in there. If they scored a 78, they were praising themselves because they barely passed. I'm like, "Why are you happy that you scored a 78?" I said, "We're in a medical field. Why? Yeah, you passed, but I got pissed if I missed one question." Because I'm like, this is medical. It's somebody I'm taking. I don't want to miss one question. So that's how serious I took it, right?
Right.
I get a job. I think everything's going. And this is after years of doing nothing, right? Getting fired, I finally get this thing. I spent 2 years scrounging. I was doing Uber when it first came out to make ends meet.
I've done it too. I've done it too.
To make ends meet. I'm doing all this stuff to go to college. And so I get a job. I'm on for 3 months, and I'm the best nurse on. I'm rock and roll. I'm doing this, doing everything. Finally, I get a call from HR, and as soon as you get a call from HR, you know it's not good.
Yeah,
it's just
I've never had to deal with an HR environment.
And what happened was, I went in a room and took care of a patient that wasn't mine because their ring light was going off and nobody was answering it. And I'm like, what the hell? Because they were just slapped. The other people that were working there, the other girls, I'm like, they don't take this shit serious. I did. So I went in and helped them out, and they happened to be a fan. They said, are you? And I'm like, oh, shh. And I shaved my hair off. I tried to do all this kind of stuff to look different. And the person knew I was DaBone. I'm like, hey, yeah, but keep it easy. Don't say too much. Well, that person wrote a thank you letter and dropped it off when they got out of the hospital, saying, hey, I think it's so cool that you guys hired an ex porn star because he's doing.
He thought he was helping you out. You're right, but
in little did they know, they were like, what? And they did the research.
You fucking ratted you out.
There's like 12 people there, and I'm like, I already knew. I'm trying to play stupid. And they said, we're going to ask you one question. Is Dale Rudder and Dale DaBone the same person? I'm like, motherfuckers, you already know it is. And they say, well, we can't condone that kind of activity here. And they, basically, fired me right there on the spot. And you talk about devastated, because I had, worked my ass off. And that started a downward spiral. I started drinking, and I remember one day I drank so much in just a few hours. I had like a couple of bottles of tequila gone because I didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to wake up. I was just down. I think I drank 2 or 3 bottles by myself, and woke up like 2 days and and it was a wake up call.
Yeah,
and that's probably one of the.
Did you consider
one of the closest things that I've ever come to, offing myself?
Yeah. Did you ever consider litigation?
I should have. Looking back on it now,
right?
This was before the whole woke and Me Too horse shit, and like, oh, I'm offended, and I don't live like that. I don't live right. Oh my god, my feelings are hurt. Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, but
fuck
no,
out of here.
I'm talking about getting. I'm talking about getting a payday, though. That's what I'm talking about.
What's that?
I'm talking about getting a payday.
But like I said, that was now looking back on it. Oh, I should have. Oh,
right, 100%. Yeah,
I so should have. I should have played that whole. Oh, I'm devastated. My eyes are sprained for half. Or now I'm. I should have played the whole. Mentally disturbed because I got fired after. I should have done the whole thing, and I probably would have gotten millions.
Yeah,
I just didn't do it.
Yeah, tequila sucks, man. I got in 1980 before I got into business, and I was working at Pep Boys on Hollywood Boulevard. It was a Friday night, and I was out in the parking lot because all the the mechanics, they would get together and they pass around a bottle of tequila. I didn't know that their thing was to get the naive little white boy and get him drunk as hell and laugh. So that's basically what they did. I got so friggin' drunk, I had to drive like maybe a mile to my apartment, and I was like every stoplight I was like thrown up outside the window, and then I had to work the next day on the busiest day of the week, and I was like, yeah. So I never even, if I smell tequila, it makes me gag.
You remember before, when I got into the business, the first woman I ever met, the devil herself, Lene Hefner, and I didn't know she. You know Lene, don't you?
I know of her.
She dated Steve Hirsch for a while.
No.
She got blackballed because she tried to blackmail him with his wife and all this kind of bullshit.
Yeah, I know of her. I don't know her personally. She was part of that Wicked Vivid crew.
I never had no alcohol. I had never drank not one sip of alcohol until I met her, until I got into business. And she would always keep me filled up with, I started doing alcohol. I was like, well, this is crazy. I never knew what, partying was like until I got to LA. And
100%. Yeah. Yeah. By that time, by the 2000, I pretty much grown past all that druggy stuff, because I had my turn in the 80s with cocaine and the early 90s with crystal meth.
I never messed with the crystal.
Don't because
never had a desire to.
Don't ever do crystal meth, because
I've seen people like don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna sit here. I did some blood. It was fun sometimes. But now I couldn't mess with that shit.
No, I don't say don't do crystal meth because it'll ruin your life. I say don't do crystal meth because it's so much better than cocaine. So if you like cocaine, you'll love crystal meth.
And you will get hooked.
I didn't get hooked. I just pretty much one day I just said, enough of this. I see people making money in the biz, and it's passing me by because I'm, I would work, binge, and then it was like then one day I just said enough of it. I'm done, and then so I quit. But Drugs are great sometimes, but ultimately they'll catch up to you and kick your ass.
Yeah, that's like me. The first thing I ever drank was funny. You mentioned tequila. It was Jägermeister, or no, Goldschlager.
Yeah,
that's what Lene drank.
Right.
And it's the only thing I could get down. Because remember, I'd never had alcohol before. I was like, she's like, this tastes like cinnamon. And she poured it and mixed it with a little Sprite. And I was like, this is fucking great. And I started downing it. Oh, my God. The next day, you talk about throwing. To this day, if I smell Goldschlager.
Oh, yeah. Well, because it's got all that sugar in it. Anything with sugar in it is going to make you a lot more sick. That's why, like wine, I don't like to. I mean, I'll have a glass of wine or whatever with dinner, but getting drunk on wine, the hangover is the fucking worst.
Yeah.
The worst. I experienced that when I was in Paris the first time. A couple of times I got a little, and it's a horrible hangover because of all the sugar and shit in it.
I think that's why I kind of chose tequila, because tequila is actually the cleanest alcohol.
Yeah.
Nothing's good for you, but it's the cleanest alcohol that you can put in your body.
Yeah.
It doesn't destroy your organs like vodka does.
Yeah. See, I was never really into any kind of liquor. Like, pretty much right now, the only thing I drink is Guinness.
Yeah.
Out of the can, because it's got iron in it. It gets me not fucked up, but just a perfect, nice little feeling. And then that's it. It's not like, if you're drinking hard liquor, eventually you're gonna get to. And plus I'm 63 years old. I can't handle hangovers anymore.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even approach getting near where I would have a hangover next day, because it's too fucking taxing. Plus, I got medical problems. I got diabetes, high blood pressure, all this shit.
I'm sure we'll get into what that. I don't want to go jump into it now, but what happened to me when I got pancreatitis and I was in the hospital for 4 months. When we get to that, that's because I almost hit. There was only 2 times in my life that I was hitting a low. The first time that I couldn't find work, and then there was a time recently that I hit another low. But we'll get into it when you want to.
Yeah. Well, fuck it. Let's get into it right now.
Okay.
Or, I mean, because you do so many things. There's so many things to talk about. You play drums.
Yeah, I play,
You play guitar.
I play drums in a Van Halen tribute band, and I do that, and I have this monstrous set of drums that looks just like Alex Van Halen's, like, you know.
Yeah, I've seen him on social media. It's
Yeah.
like,
And
yeah.
I have a guitar from Eddie Van Halen. You know, it was a Bumblebee guitar, the black and yellow one, and I still play all the time. I'm always working on riffs because I enjoy music and I play piano and you know, I coach tennis. Remember, I was with Jennifer Capriati.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
She was the number one
that's
tennis
right.
player in the world, and I was with her for the longest time. And you know, we tried to keep it a secret for the long. And then once ESPN found out, they roasted me, and it made it sound like I was the bad guy. And then, of course, find out once everything was said and done, she was the fuck up, not me.
Yeah.
You know? But
when it comes to mainstream media, we're always going to be the bad guys.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I tell people, whenever 60 Minutes or anyone comes knocking around, stay the fuck away, man, because they're never gonna put you over.
Like, trust me, there's been people. Why weren't you on behind the scenes, or you know, the history of porn part 2, the shit they put? I said they already asked me.
Right.
To do it. I said, but then when they started talking to me, and they realized I had a brain. They was like, we don't want that, because they wanted me to be stupid. They wanted me to act like. They wanted me to be like Nick Manning. I'm not saying you're stupid. You know how Nick Manning's he's on dropping loads. That's what they wanted, that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Or Evan Stone. You know, Evan's very, Evan Stone does. He spells his name.
Yeah, Evan's good. He's good at being that
Evan
character.
Stone all the time.
Right.
He's one of my, but they wanted that kind of character.
Right.
So when they saw me talking about tennis and talking about, you know, these things that I could, other than they wanted to see this dumbass that was talking about how his parents beat him, or he ran away from home when he was 14. He had bad grades. I was like, no, I graduated with honors. I did this, I did that. You know, they could care less about what I did in the hospital when I had the best. They didn't want to hear that. They wanted to hear something. So from then I said, fuck it, I'm not doing those interviews. I'm not going on those TV shows.
Yeah, dude, it's the same thing like when Frontline came around, Extreme Associates, with that documentary they were doing. They were looking for outrage. They were looking to, you know, for a spicy angle. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And the thing came out, and of course it was a total fucking hit piece. You know, made everybody look like shit. And, you know, like months later, the fucking federal government came knocking on the fucking door. You know what I mean? So there's never any upside to having mainstream exposure in that fashion, where you don't have control over the narrative. It's never a good idea. Yeah,
and there's been a couple of times where I've done radio shows, like I've done local ones here, and I've done one, you know, like different places where I was at. And the segments were always one of their best, and like, you know, the audience was very engaged, and they all said the same thing. Man, we weren't expecting that from you. We were expecting you to come on and brag about, you know. I never brag. It was, you know, it was work. It's not like, oh my God, Dale, you're so fucking cool, and all these girls want you. No, they didn't. Amber Lynn and Sydney Steele and Savannah, and they could give a fuck less. I mean, they like the fact, hey, he's clean, he's good looking, he's polite. But that they didn't drool over me, and they wasn't because I was so good. No, you're done. Get the fuck out. Next.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. We had our friends, you know, girls that we would date and we kind of hang out with. You know, our little, we called them. I don't know if you guys we call them our work wives, like girls that we work with more than once.
Yeah. I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
I had I don't know if I'd call them dimes, but they were like girls that, you know, I could call up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we got along, and I said we get together offset a little bit.
Hey, you want to go to TGI Fridays? You know, remember with TGI Fridays on Canoga and Sherman, what was it? In Van Nuys? Was that place popular?
Of course.
That place, the TGI Fridays on Canoga, I think it was Canoga and Victory, or Canoga.
Right. Yeah, no, that was very popular.
That was the porno hangout, right?
Yeah, especially in the 80s. Oh, it wasn't in the 80s, but I can see how that.
The cantina, the Sagebrush Cantina in
I've heard it. Yeah, I've never been there, but I've heard a lot of people.
And it was, so when you went, you wanted to, like, I would call it Joe Kelly. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, I'd call it Sydney Steele. You know, it's fun. You go with these hot superstars, and we would just have fun, and, you know, it was fun to do that. But that was as far as it went. You know, I never dated anybody that's super, you know.
Yeah, I didn't date. I mean, like I said, I had, you know, my little, you know, side, you know.
You had your favorites.
Yeah.
There was ones that I would look at and go, oh my God, today's gonna be great. And then there was times I'd look at it and go, okay, no clue who you are. And by the time I was finished, still had no clue who you were.
Yeah, in the early '90s, I hung out with a lot with Francesca Lay, and there was this little girl named Sierra, little white girl. But that was just because we all like to do fucking speed and fucking, you know.
Yeah, I think I saw a scene where I think it was you and Christy Lake, maybe was it Christy Lake or I like the girls from your era, like Seika and Lois Ayres. Lois Ayres was like I had the
Lois was cool. Seika, I never worked with her. She was at a warehouse show, IVD warehouse show, and I just kind of hung out with her because she was fucking funny as hell. She was like, she's like just an old broad that's like, you know, she's very, very personable person, but I never worked with her. Lois Ayres,
A funny story. The only time, because I was known for being a machine. I never couldn't come. I could always
same. Same.
The only time when you talk about I was praying to the porcelain gods. I was praying. I had to work with Marilyn Chambers when she came out of retirement.
Yeah.
And sweet woman, but she was. But you know, it was like she was grandma, like not granny, like a hot grandma. I'm talking.
I know.
She was 85. And they were stuffing her into a girdle and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I can't do this. And so I'm trying to, and I'm just like doing everything. And it was a scene with 4 other guys, right?
Oh,
and I'm like the only guy that could keep wood. So they ended up redoing the scene where it was just me because the other guys couldn't do it, and I was, you know, so they kind of just edged them out. They redid. I don't know how they ended up editing it.
I actually have a similar story. In that I worked with Marilyn in my very first feature movie. It was called Up and Coming. And well, she still looked great back then. She still had, her husband was Chuck Trainer. I met him. But the scene that I did with it was me and this guy named Doug, and we were rooming together. And the scene wasn't until later at night. And Doug was like sitting in the room blowing lines all day, you know. So when we got to this, and I didn't because, you know, I never did that.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't.
So when we got to the scene, even though I was the new guy, I mean, we're talking my 3rd or 4th job here, you know, I still hadn't figured out what to do with that thing down there, you know, but I was the strong guy in the scene only because the other guy was all coked up. You know what I mean? So I knuckle fucked her in the ass, but you know, because I learned that from watching.
He said knuckle fuck. I've never heard of that until just now.
Well, that's what Ron Jeremy used to do. Well, actually, he did it for the last 20 years of him performing in camp, where you squeeze the base of your dick to make it look hard. That's what I call knuckle fucking.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Hey, I'm Tom Byron, host of That Dude Podcast, sponsored by Green Genie. Your wish is my command. How good are Green Genie gummies? Let me tell you, Green Genie gummies are so strong they will quickly turn this dude into that dude. So go to greengenieny.com. That's greengenieny.com. They got gummies, they got chocolates, they got cooking oil, everything to help make America stoned again. greengenieny.com. Go now.
It's funny that you mentioned that. There was certain comb shots that I would remember. I think there was one in it was Night Shift Nurses, and I think it was a scene with Lois Ayres. She did a scene with this one guy. It was I can't remember. It was a black guy. He had like like Jerry curl, like kind of weird looking dude. But she was telling me the story, and I was like, well, because he wasn't performing. I said, what are you talking about? That pop shot at the end was amazing. She said, no, that was egg yolk, and I was like, that's what that was. And they would make these cocktails.
Oh yeah,
pop shots out of this egg yolk, and I'm like, that was fake. Said, yeah, and I'm like, fuck, I had no idea. So it was, you know, hearing stories about the old days, how they did it. And I remember Paul Thomas would always tell me, I fuck girls with more hair on their pussy than they have on their head before, and before you guys came. It was, you know.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of the Harry Bush era.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the shit would get stuck inside, and it'd rub your fucking dick.
Yeah, it would chafe your cock. It would get in there, and then the next thing you know, your shit's all rubbed raw, and you can't work for 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So when they started trimming it down, I was like, yeah, that's. I was a fan of trim bush.
Yeah.
Or you know, not so much shaved. You know, it's like leave it.
I like something like the landing strip. I just don't want it down on your lips or on the labia. I don't want it down. You know, up here.
Yeah.
Little goodie show, whatever you want to call it. No, yeah, so I'm all good.
Yeah. So let's see. I don't know. So you got out of the business.
So now,
you were a nurse.
Yeah.
And then after the nurse thing, is that when you started?
That's when things started getting bad because I couldn't find work. I spent all the time and money to do this get this education. Now, trust me, I still got my plaques on the wall, all the awards I got. You know, the highest accolades of having the best GPA and all that kind of shit. And it was even sometimes now I look at it, I'm like, damn, all that for nothing. But so I started really getting, you know, depressed. I was really, you know, I didn't know what to do. And a buddy of mine, the good thing about me, I was, you know, being in tennis, you know, I would make money on the side, coaching and all this kind of shit, playing drums. And one guy's like, dude, you're built. He said, you're 6'1" and 220. And you know, I was taking steroids. I did anything because I always wanted to look a certain way. Yeah. He said, do you train? I was like, yeah, I train, you know, jiu-jitsu, you know, I box, I do all this stuff. He said, so you can take care of yourself. I'm like, he said, why don't you get into, you know, corrections? I'm like, he said, you know anything about guns? I'm like, I never shot a gun. He said, let's go to the range and see what you can do. Because, you know, being an actor, and I've been, you know, I know you put one in here, dynamic, you know, all this stuff. So I knew I could do it. So the first time I ever shot a gun, I'm like, ta, 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 ta. He's like, you've never shot a gun before. I'm like, no. He's like, dude, you look like a natural. So he's the one that said, why don't you go to, you know, get this training, get that training, tactical training, get your C, your D, your G, all these different licenses. You know, I got concealed, I got all this. And he said, well, you know, get it. I'll vouch for you. I'll tell them that you've worked for me for 2 years because, you know, that you had to have at least 2 years, bail bonds, something, some kind of So he lied for me. And I got a job doing prison transport. And that's got me, and it was, oh, God, it was rough. We had like 12 inmates in the back, driving around nationwide, and you're like up for 3 days, you know, in the same clothes, because basically you work two and a half days straight. With a partner, you know, you kind of sleep in the sun, and then after the third day, you finally get the rest, and then then you go back. So I mean, that was killing my body. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. Right. And I met one of my best friends in the world doing that job, and then after that one, I ended up quitting because I was like, I just can't. They were just running us through the ringer. Right. But I was thinking, I met some, you know, over the years, I met some rich people, and I started thinking, I never thought about doing my own company. I was the guy. There are three types of people in this world, and I always use music. There's a guy that wants to be on stage, me. Right. Then there's a guy that wants to build the stage, which is that person. Right. Then there's the people that want to be in the audience watching those people. There's those type of people, and then there's the people that put all that concert together. Right. Right. Those are the real money makers who put. Yeah. I wanted to be the star on the stage. I wanted to be, you know. I always thought like that. So then I started like, let's put on a different hat. How can you get your own company? So I called my buddy and I said, hey, let's try to do something. I started hustling. I started going to and I'm talking, I made up flyers. Like we had this company that was already gold, right? And we're making it happen. I went everywhere trying to get things going. And denied, and nothing going on, nothing. And then out of nowhere, you know, I can't talk about this a lot, but somebody somewhere said, okay, hey, this is, and they saw my work ethic, and they said, we don't really care about your past. You don't do it anymore. I've been out, since 15 years, and now it's like, that's behind you now. We don't really, especially all the shit that's going down now. I mean, now it's like,
oh yeah,
you got the Kardashians, you got this, you got everybody's like, they're famous for being sluts.
Yeah, it's a different,
now it's cool.
Different
now
era.
Nobody cares.
Right.
But so I did that, and then, like I said, and now that's kind of what I do. Well, not kind of, it's what I do. I'm in corrections, and I've been doing it ever since. And now I've gotten this, not love, but I kind of this gotten into shooting and mastering my craft.
Right. You've gotten into a comfort zone with it.
Yeah, and
let me ask you this though: did any of the inmates ever recognize you?
Yeah.
Oh, they did?
All the time.
Yeah. Were they nice or shitty about it? Oh, they were nice.
They're always here's the one thing I learned about being in this business. Mm-hmm. The harsher, the more dangerous, the more mass murderer that we pick up they are, the nicer they are.
Yeah.
The more yes sir, no sir. They're very. It's the little punks, the little wannabes that want to get a reputation. They're the ones that get a little mouthy and trying
to get some cred. Yeah.
But we've had some rapists, serial killers. I'm talking people you've seen on TV. We transport a couple they've done documentaries on Netflix, and I've transported them. And they're usually, I'm not saying they're a good person, but with us, they were super nice, very respectful. It was a different world.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know what? You've dealt with porn people. There's a couple of degrees of separation. Mm-hmm. As far as, I don't know. So so you did that. Now, I remember a couple of years you had like an accident in a pool where you broke your neck. Tell us a little bit about that.
I would love to tell a sexy story of a motorcycle accident. And
right.
All the motorcycles. I was one of the best stunt riders in the world when I was with Jason Britton, Team No Limit. We did all the stunts for Torque, Biker Boys, and stunts for Miami Vice, and all this kind of shit. And all that stuff. I broke some bones, but nothing ever major. Just shit, road rash. The one time I break my neck, which my mom always told me, you're gonna break your neck. I break my neck jumping into the pool because we had a dog that would she would run in with, and she'd jump really far, and we both went to jump at the same time. I jumped and she jumped this way, so we kind of crossed each other, and so she flipped me upside down, and I landed into the short end. I was just going to jump into the short end like this and land on my feet. I ended up landing in the short end on my neck. And the only thing that saved me from being dead or paralyzed was the fact that it was a fiberglass pool. It wasn't a cement pool.
So it had a little give.
There was some give. And so it was a very, very funny story about how this happened. I wake up, I'm bleeding, I'm like, oh man, my wife is laughing at me. She's like, what the hell? And so I thought I just had a stinger, right? Football hits on top of your head. So I go to work the next day, right? And I'm driving. I'm like, something's so wrong. I get done, and I go back. I was like, I can't move my neck. Something's wrong. And she was like, just go to the chiropractor. And I was like, yeah, that's right. Maybe they should give me an adjustment and maybe pull it. Maybe that's what it's jammed. I go there. Well, I'm trying to make this long story short. I go there and lay on and the doctor sees this huge gash on my head, and he said, how did you get that? I was like, oh, I jumped into a pool, and that's why I'm here. My neck. He said, oh, you did that from jumping into a pool? And he said, can you do me? I need to take an X-ray. And I'm like, nah, you're just trying to milk me for money. I said, can you just give me an adjustment? That's all I need. I got a stinger. He said, I'm not going to charge you for it. I just want to look at your neck. So he takes an X-ray and he comes back, and you get back, his eyes are like this. Right. He said, you got to leave now. You got to go. You got to go to the emergency room. I'll call that ambulance. I was like, what? I was like, I'll be fine. I'll go myself. Right. I go home and I'm still thinking he's bullshitting me. Right. I told my wife what's going on. And I was like, do you think I should go to the emergency room? She's like, why don't you just go get looked at? I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. So I go there. I'm sitting there. And this time we do the real, the better one. And I'm waiting. They said, we're probably going to be, you'll be out of here in a minute. Just hang tight, Mr. Rudder. And I see all the nurses come up to the triage. 1, 2, now there's doctors, 3, 4. And now these other, and when you see somebody from a distance and they all look back and you can tell they're talking about you. Right. So I was in a room like this and I'm like, why do they keep looking back? And they kept looking back. And finally another one comes in and she says something. And it was like all these people come rushing, get him in, stabilize him, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Your neck is broken in 5 places and we don't know why. Come to find out. So like, if you look at it this way, the stem, you know, the spinal cord is protected obviously by each vertebrae. They were crushed
Wow.
here, crushed here, crushed here, crushed here in L4, L5. And I don't know, you probably, I don't know if you can see that nasty ass scar.
Yep.
But it's all the way down. And I got titanium rods in there that hold me together. But everything was just, but nothing touched the spinal cord. Every bone was broken in 3 different places. But I got so lucky. God.
Oh,
himself.
fuck yeah.
So when we get there, I'm in this fucking thing, and I'm like, I still can't see anything. I'm like, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. And so the people were coming in, like the doctors and the nurses were like, is this the guy? Is this the guy that went to work the next day? Is this the guy? Is it? And I'm like, what am I, a science project? And then finally they kind of told me, this nurse leaned over. She wasn't a nurse. She was like a specialist, spine. She's like, this is what happened. Your neck is broken in so many different places. We don't know how you're alive. We don't know how you're talking, how you're speaking, and you went to work. You're not paralyzed. And she's like, you could sneeze right now and die. And I'm like, what? And they were even telling me, they said, yeah, when you went to work the other day, when you went like here and you were looking left and right, you could have sneezed too hard and you would have died right there in the car.
Wow.
And that's when it kind of hit me what happened. And I started bawling. I was terrified because I'm thinking,
yeah,
I can move my hands right now, but what if they fuck up? Or what if, you know?
Oh, yeah, that's like Christopher Reeve type shit. Yeah.
And that was one of the things I had to sign when they did it all. I had to sign a release that say, hey, if you get paralyzed and during surgery and you don't make it, you can't sue us. It was scary.
Wow.
It was
I can't imagine.
It humbles you real fast. And
yeah. And just jumping in the pool with your dog. I mean, I used to do that all the time, you know.
And here's the story, because you know we probably want to jump to it, you know. And so after that, I get strong. I do everything. Everything's fine. Everything they said I would never do again, I did. They said you're never going to play tennis again. You're never going to ride your motorcycle again. They all had one common denominator, common factor, you know, in common. They were all wrong.
Oh yeah.
Tennis, motorcycles, played my drum, everything, even though I had to modify it. So now when I play, I used to play a lot like Tommy Lee, a little bit more Alex Van Halen, throwing sticks, doing this. Now I have to play a little bit more upright.
Right.
Other than that, everything's, you know, the way it used to be.
Well, basically, you're forced to have good posture now, which is better for you anyway.
I'm watching. I feel like I'm sitting straight, but I'm noticing it that I'm this way or that way. I'm like, I'm trying to set straight. But when I set straight, like I feel totally straight, but look at me on camera, I'm still crooked. So I'm all fucked up. But
I don't know. You look all right to me. You're definitely one of the most resilient men I've ever met.
Well, we'll get to the story. This is the story that just happened that really changed my life. Now we'll get into, if you want to. If we want
let's do it, because we're about to wrap it up here. So I want to. I followed the story on your Facebook page, but by all means, lay out the old pancreatitis.
Yeah, so I'm fucking doing good, got a decent job. Things are finally, you know, me and my, you know, wife are, you know, getting along. Everything's kind of going good. You know, we have had a few mishaps, let's just say, that in my relationship where there was a little bit of infidelity. You know, I was looking for something else, and that kind of happened. And I was getting bored. I was getting, you know, I was kind of slipping back into just when I was at work, everything was great. But when I was at home, I was just bored.
Yeah, you don't know what to do with yourself. Exactly.
I was like, what's going on? And so I started drinking. Because I got so used to being, you know, the hospital, when you do that whole thing being on my with my neck, it got me to where I wake even to this day. I wake up every day at 6 o'clock on the dot. 6 a.m. That's when I wake up. So I'm, you know, by the time I go to the gym, I do all this stuff, and that's another thing. Eating healthy, and just because I have muscles and blah 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 blah, you think that you're healthy. And I play tennis. I thought that rationalized me. I was having vodka for breakfast. By 9 o'clock, I'd come home and get bored. She'd be at work, and I'd start watching TV. I was like, well, just a shot, just kind of mellow out. One shot turned into 2, 3, 4. Next thing you know, I'm drinking a whole lot, and even though I was functional, I'm not saying I was full blown alcoholic,
Right.
you know, but just drinking way more than I should have, right? And I remember doing that. We went to a period where we were working really good,
right?
And so when you're working, you got to stay straight. I think we had like 3 weeks or 4 weeks off where I was doing nothing, and I was so bored. And all I was doing, I'd go do my routine, and like I said, I was rationalizing in my brain because I work out, because that means I can drink whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I was drinking. I was sloshed a couple. You know, there were times I was sloshed by 3 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one night, and nobody knows this part of the story.
Right.
I don't like to admit it, but that's what happened, because that makes me feel like but I was still functional, you know.
Right.
I wasn't abusive. There was no fight. I was still a good guy. I was like, oh, there's Mr. Lush. It was all internal. I kept it a secret.
Mm-hmm.
So one night I was like, oh God, what the hell? What's wrong? I'm like thinking, okay, maybe do I have a kidney infection? I was like, something's not right.
Right.
I felt something, and we go to the emergency room, and you know, the doctors asked me, hey, do you drink? And I had to come clean. I was like, yeah. And he's like, how much? I well, more than I want to. And I actually told him the truth. He said, and so I had to do a CAT scan. I did the internal kind of stuff. They found out. They said, you got pancreatitis. And at the time, I was like, what the hell is that? But I knew from medical, you know, when I went to being a nurse, I was like, okay, wait a minute, titis, that means infection pertaining to the pancreas. You know, I remembered it.
Right.
Wait a minute, that's more of an inflammation. So I thought it was okay, right?
Yeah.
You know, anything itis is an inflammation, like arthritis, or, you know, so pancreatitis.
Right.
I was saying it's just an inflammation. I'm fine. It was eating a hole. It was kind of like, and it was almost, they thought it was going to make my pancreas shut down. They thought they were going to have to remove my pancreas.
Wow.
And then they were telling me about what life was going to be like as a diabetic, and this, that, and that, and you're not. I'm what? And I started. I mean, you talk, and it makes the broken neck, the pain I went through.
Right.
Once they admitted me, because I was in the hospital for 4 months.
Right.
I went in there at 220 pounds, and when I left, I was 149. I looked like I was in a concentration camp. I was bone.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, it was. I had tubes. Like, I got scars now. You can see it from here. I got a scar here. There was a tube, feeding tube through here, one through here, colostomy through here. It was connected. So you know, that's how I was messing and shitting. And you know, I had a fucking colostomy back, dude.
Wow.
It was, and I thought, when I said I thought I was going to die, I thought they lost me on the table twice, they said. And it was and when things started getting better, they even the doctors today, I still go in for checkups. They said, we don't exactly know why you recovered the way you did. We've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
And I could go into, like I said, we're about to wrap up, but there's so much more we could talk about. But let's just say it was it made the broken neck. Look, I would take the broken neck 10 times. I'll do the broken neck over again before I'll ever fucking pancreatitis.
Yeah.
As I left, 2 days, right before I left, an 18-year-old girl came in. She was 2 rooms down, pancreatitis. She died 2 days later.
Wow.
And I walked out.
You are Iron Man.
And now I'm like, you know, and like I said, I was 140, and the recovery for even now to this day, I got it going back. I'm 196 from 149. I mean, even now when I go into places, because I did it really quick, they look at me, what the fuck? Because the last time they saw me, I said, what the hell did you do? And I'm like, but I got lucky. But I've used all my 9 lives. I don't have any more, so I can't. I can't get any more. Nothing bad can happen now because I don't have any more.
But I'll tell you one thing, that nursing education that you have, you know, I mean, I think in
I was using it every day.
Exactly, you know, you can self-diagnose a lot of things that are going, because you have that knowledge now. Is that the wife?
Yes, she is. She's right here. Hey, babe. We were just telling. She is the reason that brought me back from 149, and she would make me protein shakes, and I couldn't get out of bed to take a shower. I couldn't. She had to help me and bring all my bags and help me sit on the. It was the worst, and she brought me back to where I am now.
Well, good job, wifey. All right. Well, you know what? I'm about to wrap this up. Do you have anything else you want to share with the audience?
The only thing I'd like to say is that people that from my career, they're loyal. They still stay in touch with me as if I'm still and they're really good people. Are always asking how I'm doing, and you know, in a world of what's your real friends, and I just did a post about this. Just because you have 6,000 people on your friends list, doesn't mean you have a lot of friends. You just know a lot of people.
Yeah. Well,
but I do have some people that look after me, and it's a good feeling.
Yeah. I mean, your story is definitely inspirational, you know, and if anyone has like, you know, something going on in their lives, you know, it's like, look at DaBone's story.
I wish there was a movie company that would come to me, because this is a great story, but you know, you will never hear about that. Now, if I ended up as a junkie, I'd probably be on the fucking Stern show or something, because that's interesting. But because I've kind of battled through it, nobody wants to hear about that. The porn star doing okay now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, didn't you play Iron Man for Axel? Yeah. Yep. So that's it. Dale.
At the time, I was the king. I was the king of the parodies, because I did Superman.
Oh, I know.
I did Batman.
Elvis.
I did, Iron Man. I did all Elvis. I did all these different things, and I was the.
I know you won best. You won best actor, and we wanted, and me and my crew wanted Tommy Pistol to win for that movie, the Taxi Driver movie.
Yeah, yeah. Because that was the one we were going head to head. Yeah.
But you snatched it away.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. You know, I was more into like The Rock. Well, The Rock says this. Know your role. Shut your mouth.
All right, Del. Well, it's awesome talking to you. Catching up.
Can I tell a quick story about The Rock?
Go for it.
I just thought about this. Okay.
Go for it.
This is when I just finished. Remember that very first movie I told you I did in North Carolina, Southern Blowjob Bells, right? We did, and I had it in VHS. And this was WWF was huge. They came to Greensboro, right? This was in The Rock was first. I went to Lone Star. It was a Longhorn or Lone Star, whatever, steakhouse, and he was there eating by himself back when he could do that. Wow. And I walked up to him and, hey, I'm a big fan, blah, blah, blah. And I did my impersonation of The Rock. It doesn't matter what your name is, jabroni, and all that kind of stuff. And I said, hey, I got into Hollywood, and I'm going to be this big porn, you know. He said, hey, you got something? I said, hey, I got this videotape. You want it? So the only master tape I ever had, that was when you have a master tape, I gave to Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, handed it to him. And, you know, who knows whatever you did with it, you know, but it was funny. But I gave him that tape. It's like, hey, I'm going to watch this, you know, you be my entertainment for, you know, when I'm at hotels. And I thought that was kind of funny. But, yeah, so I've always wanted, I've never seen him since then, but I've always wondered if he remembers that, because we sat there for about an hour. It wasn't like a quick. So I bet he remembers me giving him that tape, even though I'm sure he can't admit to it because he does a lot of Disney stuff now. But that was a cool story.
Smell what held the bone.
His cooking. It looks like a monkey came down here and took a crap, and out came you.
All right, Dale.
Hey, buddy, it's great talking to you, man. It brings back a lot of good memories, and I appreciate doing things like this, man.
Yeah, man. All right, well, stay strong. We're all in your corner, and thanks for inspiring us all, man.
Yeah, no problem, brother. And it's anytime, man. And like you doing this stuff is awesome. I want to see you succeed. Anytime I can help and do something with you, I'm here for you, brother.
Rock and roll.